So it's natural for us when we go into a situation to want to control how we're perceived in that situation. And it's almost impossible for most people to stop doing. Jean Paul Sartre called it the look. And it's this phenomenon where when you walk into a situation or a potential situation where people may be watching you, we suddenly step outside of our bodies and we actually join the group of people who are potentially watching us, see how we're perceived by them, and then try and make alterations to who we are and how we're acting in order for that perception to change in a way that we think is more appealing. This idea of sort of being the director of our own lives. Everybody here is familiar with work mode, where when you go into the office, not just you, but everybody around you suddenly become these sort of automatons who have decided exactly what their role is in this social situation and how to perform that to the best of their ability. Some people perform competence, some people perform incompetence. You've got the occasional person who's decided that they're going to be the joker in the room and they perform that, but it's all a performance. It's never exactly who the person is. And you can feel that not only in their presence, but in the fact that you're generally friends with very few of these people. Relationships, the exact thing happens as well. If we're lucky, when we fall in love, the person we fall in love with falls in love with our authentic selves. But the moment that we start a relationship with them, we again go into performance mode. A lot of us perform being a great relationship partner, but some people perform being a terrible relationship partner, wanting to get across the idea either to the beloved or to others that they are irritated in this relationship, that they're not a part of what's going on here. And most of us go through life this way, and it's not a fun way to go through life. It can be extremely stressful. It causes a lot of anxiety. As a matter of fact, I would say that it's the root of most of our anxiety. Anxiety being that tension between who we want to be and who we are, and wanting to present the who we are part to the world more than what we actually come across as. And it's a shame because the fact of the matter is people love us for exactly who we are. They'll tolerate us sometimes if we do it well for who we want to be and who we present to the world, but they'll absolutely love us for who we are, flaws and all. None of us are the absolute devils that we perceive ourselves to be when we go into this observational role and look at ourselves from the outside. So how can you change this? It's actually a very simple technique. It comes from a couple of sources. Sartre sort of introduced this idea of the look, this idea of becoming the observer when we know that we're going to be observed. But both Jung and a group of people who developed the ACT psychological tool set came up with this idea of what I'm going to call witnessing the observer. It's very easy to execute on. What you do when you are going to be in a situation where this performance mode is going to take over, whether that's at work, a relationship, a group of friends, you just take an inch step back in your brain from the observer of the person who walks into the room. So the observer phenomenon happens automatically. You walk in, this observer starts trying to direct what's going on and change the performance of you, the person who's walked into the situation. So what you're going to do is in your brain, you're going to visualize yourself taking just half a step back from this observer person. And you're going to watch the observer. You're going to watch the director instead of the actor in the scene, which is you. And a crazy thing happens. All of a sudden when you do that, it seems to rob the observer of their power, not to observe, not to criticize, but to control the person who's in that situation. And all of a sudden you start acting without thinking about what you're actually being perceived as when you're there. It's not dissimilar to what happens when you drink alcohol or use other substances that numb our self-perception. In those cases, we're sort of numbing or eliminating the observer entirely. And it's one of the reasons that we're so much fun when we drink, because we're not sitting there trying to control every gesture, every word, every tone that comes out of our mouth to make sure that we're perceived in the way that we want to be perceived. Give it a try the next time you're in one of those situations. I think you're going to find that not only does your anxiety level drop, but people also find themselves enjoying your presence a lot more.